Good morning, everybody, and Shabbat Shalom to the house of Israel, 12 tribes scattered all over the world, and believers in Yeshua Messiah. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Good morning. Hope you're having a good Sabbath morning. We are here. This is Hidden Manna. We are LMC Church. We thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning. I'm Pastor Dave. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful day here in the Northeast. And of course, it is also the anniversary of 9/11. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. As a matter of fact, I guess really the topic for today is going to kind of be why do the nations rage? But in our conversation today, it is a conversation, and to help me along with this is my dear brother, Max. There he is. Hey, man. Shabbat Shalom, brother.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom. How you doing?
Good to see you, man. You doing okay?
Good to see you. Yeah, doing good. We're having a little bit more fall-like weather in this part of the state, but we're doing good. How about you?
Yeah, it is. You know what? Today's obviously 9/11, right? It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
20th. Can you believe it's been
Excuse me.
20 years? 20 years since
I,
that day.
I was
What?
thinking about that last night, and the crazy thing was, I don't know if you remember, but that morning of 9/11, the actual day, me and you were on the phone watching it unfold
Yeah.
as it was happening. I think after the first plane hit, I gave you a call. My wife was at work. I was just, no one at that point knew what to do, right? We were just
Yeah.
all like, in shock and awe. And me and you were just watching it unfold. That was a crazy day. Very sad and
Very, very sad, and
unexplainable.
certainly
Yeah,
our
unexplainable,
hearts
really.
our hearts go out to certainly all the families who are still mourning all of those poor people that were victims, both at the Twin Towers and, of course, at the Pentagon, and
Hmm.
that flight. What was it? Flight 90 over
Uh,
Pennsylvania.
yeah, yeah, something like that. I forgot the actual flight number, but yeah, that was a sad day.
Yeah, yeah, our hearts go out. But you know, the way it is today, and it's so weird because this is one of the strongest memories I have of 9/11, aside from just watching the whole horrible thing unfold, was the weather,
Mm,
because it
yep,
was the absolute most
beautiful.
beautiful fall, crisp. It wasn't
Hmm.
wasn't cold, but it had that just that beginning of fall weather that starts to come into it. The skies were crystal clear,
Beautiful
maybe
blue. Yeah.
maybe a couple of little white cumulus nimbus clouds
Mm.
scattered, but it was just the
That's before they had
beautiful
all the
clear sky.
chemtrails in the
Before
air. Sorry.
chemtrails.
We're
you
not gonna go. We're
you
not gonna go that route.
conspiracy theorist, you. And amazingly, I went out this morning, opened up the door, and just
Mm.
took a breath in, and that's 20
Well,
years later.
yeah.
Today is almost a carbon copy. Well, we don't even say carbon copy anymore. Digital copy.
Yeah,
It is a
exactly. I agree. I
picture
agree.
perfect day of what that day was like
Hmm.
20 years ago. And it's amazing. 'Cause I remember, first, and I'm sure, all of us, everybody, I'm sure has memories. I
Hmm.
mean, obviously, a lot of us were, a lot of people were just kids. My kids were just kids,
Yeah,
when this
yeah.
happened.
Me and my wife were
Now
just
they're
married
men.
just a year. I think it was right. Matter of fact, for our year anniversary, we're married. July was 21 years, but we actually did remember the Circle Line tour in Manhattan.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was
yeah.
like 3 weeks before the actual day of 9/11 that when that happened. So there was so many just things that bring you back to memory, right?
Yeah, and
But
so just the weather always kind of brings back those memories when you feel that first fall kind of cool
hmm,
weather come in. And I
yep,
remember sitting with Sister Karen. And in fact, I remember her saying, "Hun, you got to come out here. You got to see this." And my first response when you're watching the video of the plane hit, you're like,
hmm,
"No,
yeah.
no, this."
It was almost like watching a movie preview,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it
Coming
was.
attraction.
And you're thinking, no, this has got to be some sort of a hoax or something. This cannot be true.
Hmm.
But of course, the way and it just took hours, literally hours, for everything to unfold the way that it did. But I
Yeah.
guess for our generation, it's where were you when 9/11 occurred? And the
Yep. Yeah.
generation before us was, where were you when John F. Kennedy, was shot?
Mm-hmm.
It's those
Yeah.
those tragic national events.
Yeah. Or
That
even Pearl Harbor, when you heard about
right,
Pearl Harbor.
right. The
Yeah.
generation before, where were you when Pearl Harbor occurred? And it's just it just
Yeah.
sticks in your mind. This is
Yeah.
again. My sons were just little boys. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
here I
About to
am.
say they were. That
I'm
was
wearing
21
my.
years ago.
I don't know if you can see it. I'm
20.
wearing my blessed grandpa shirt. Can you see that? There we go. I wear my. I'm toting my grandpa
There you
title
go.
today. So but yeah. So here I am, 20 years later, and I'm a grandpa.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
And time has just
20 years later, following my Yeshua.
yeah. There you go. All right, you one upped me on that one.
But yeah, man, I just to go back one step, I remember my wife, she worked in a hot pod, and that whole trip home, going back out east to where we lived, that was about a good 25-minute ride. All she saw was all the first responders from Long Island
Oh
just
sure,
going into the sea. It was a non-stop convoy of
sure.
fire trucks, police, ambulances, everything just going in.
Yeah.
And but
And
yeah.
I remember how we were, uh, and rightfully so. We were hailing these people as heroes, and they were. I mean, here they are
Mm-hmm.
rushing into
Danger, yeah.
a fire, an explosion, a building that is on fire, and how far we have fallen even since then
Mm,
to
mm.
now we're at the point of defund them,
Yeah. I
right?
think that saying, the slogan they made, will never forget. I think they forgot.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad. That's kind of what we want to look at. Today we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what's going on now in our culture, and certainly look at it from a biblical perspective. But 20 years later, here we are 20 years later, and we've got have we become a better nation, or has things taken a turn for the worst, really?
Mm,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
look at where we are, and it's a scary thought
Mm-hmm.
as to where we are. And I remember one of the things that occurred. I mean, once this happened, and this was kind of like when we first sent troops into Kuwait. Remember
Yes.
under
Yep,
Bush
I remember.
one,
Yep.
we sent the troops into Kuwait, and
Mhm.
the day that happened, I remembered, everybody went to their local church, right?
Mhm.
Everybody in the area, they went to their churches. America was at war again. Here we are
Mhm.
sending our soldiers, our Marines, our airmen, our sailors, our Coast Guard, sending them to a foreign country, and
Mhm.
all you heard, and this is kind of like this is a cycle that we go through, but all you heard from every prophecy teacher out there, this is it, right? This is
Yeah.
the beginning of the Gog Magog war. This is the beginning of the end. This is the end times, and the
Mhm.
beast is and that whole cycle. But people were so taken with it, they came back to to their churches, and to some degree, I guess you could say, were we they were so afraid of what's going on, so taken, that they went
Mhm.
back to their places of worship.
Yeah.
Something similar happened in 9/11, but it didn't last 2 weeks.
No, no.
In the Kuwait, the first Gulf War, it lasted a while. It went
Mhm.
on for a couple, and then of course, like everything else, we get also we get so tied up in culture and pop culture, and and all the stuff that's going on, that we quickly forget. And what's the first thing we do?
Yep. Yep.
We forget about Yah. We forget about the
Yep.
Lord.
That's it.
We forget
Back
about God.
burner.
Yeah, it becomes a back burner issue. And then now you've got 9/11 occurs, and a similar thing to a lesser degree, at least from my perspective, what I saw happening. Uh, People started coming to churches. Of course, we're talking before we understand what we understand now,
Yeah. Truth. Yeah.
but church nonetheless. People came to churches, but it was short lived. It wasn't,
Mhm.
like I said, it wasn't a hot month. It wasn't
Yeah.
even that before
Mhm.
So it's like, all right, well, going back to work or school. And 20 years ago, the internet was nothing even comparable to
Mm-hmm.
what we have today, right? Social media
Mm-hmm.
was nothing
Yep.
incomparable to what we have today. And today we are just so taken, so preoccupied with the social media and what Hollywood says and what people of influence says. And now you got your
Oh yeah, that makes me
TikTok
sick, man.
influencers and
Yeah.
all and we are just so uh I don't even know what the right word is. We're not just
It
confused, but
actually likens me into a kid, right? 'Cause, I have two kids. You have two sons, right? And the thing is, it's funny because remember when they're this age, especially what I have now, when they want something, what do? They'll do anything. Oh, mom, I'll clean the house. I'll do that. But it's short lived because once they get what they want, what happens to that promise,
they
right?
they still do it when they grow up, man.
Yeah, when they
They
grow
still
up,
do it at
they,
27 years old. They still
uh,
do it.
so I gotta look forward to that now, huh? Can I
they
borrow money, mom,
they
for my car
they
insurance?
they
I'll clean.
still do it.
Yeah. But right, it's so similar, right? They want what they want when they get it, and then when they feel a sense of security or fulfillment, I'm done.
But
I don't
you,
need
you
that
know
much
what it
more.
you know what it was though. It my again. This is I'm giving you my perspective on this. It was fear
Yeah.
for a very short amount of time.
Hmm.
People had fear,
And I don't even know
especially
if it was fear. It was fear of man, right? Because it wasn't fear of God.
right.
Because if it
Right.
was,
It was fear.
right,
It was fear of the circumstance. Fear that
yeah,
war is here.
what
You
can
know,
happen to them? Yeah.
somebody touched us, America,
Hmm.
in our
Yep.
own land.
Yep.
And there was fear, and rightfully so. I remember even during the day as 9/11 was going on, because we were at the time we were at Wading River. Remember Wading River? We
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
at Wading River, and it's only a couple of blocks from the house. And I remember all of the reports because nobody knew how many planes. We
Yeah.
knew
At
that
that
we knew
point,
the
it was just
two,
like every time. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they started landing all the planes all over the country. I think Bush at the time started just to
Yeah,
shut
he ordered
down.
them all down. Even I saw documentaries of that of little towns in Alaska that were taking not Alaska, near the Canadian border, towns of a couple of hundred that were taking in thousands of people in their homes because they had to land them and no place to put them up, no hotels.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy.
And I remember even driving to work, and the secretary at the time, we were concerned, like, man, a plane could literally drop out of the sky.
Yeah,
At least
yeah. And when you
that's
lived right
what the
into a
fear
power plant.
was. Yeah, well, we're it was Long Island. We were so close to the
Yeah.
city. There was that concern, and what had
Hmm.
happened just a little while before that. I don't know if you remember. You remember Flight 800 coming
Yeah,
out
that's
of
another story.
off of Long
I was
Island?
Yeah, I was at a
Right.
diner right in Santa Maricias when that went. You could smell the jet fuel from the fire. Me
Yeah.
and
So
Anjoni.
so
Yeah.
that was fresh,
In our
in
minds.
in
Yeah.
in, in the mind, and crazy, 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 crazy experience. But I do believe that the motivation for people to start again, we're talking about what we understood then, to
Hmm.
come back to church was short lived because it was fear, but it was not fear of Yah. It
Yeah.
was not fear of God. It was
Hmm.
it was fear that somebody could do this in our own land. It was fear that we were going to war. It
Yeah.
was
I
it
think we
was
have a fear as humans when we can't control something, right? It's out of our control. You know.
and of course, like we said, that fear was short lived because we
Hmm.
start getting involved in just our everyday lives, and we just even here we are 20 years later, right? And we went to Afghanistan because it's so sad. I forgot what's that guy's name again? We talked about him a couple of weeks ago. He does that on the street stuff. Dice is the guy's name.
Dice. Yeah.
Dice.
Mark Dice.
Mark Dice. I
Yeah.
love watching him. I
Yeah.
really
Check him
do.
out on YouTube. Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's
Yeah, yeah. Check him out on YouTube. He deserves the watch. He deserves the. As a matter of fact, don't forget, if you're watching us and you're not subscribed, if that little button on the bottom says subscribe is red, you
Yeah.
need to touch it so that you are subscribed. It'll help us out.
Yeah.
It'll increase the
Smash
number
that
of
like button.
subscribers. Smash that like button. That's right. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy the conversation. Give us a
And if
thumbs
it's a
up.
thumbs down, hit it lightly. Don't smash it.
Your wife and my wife, right?
Yeah.
But and be part of the conversation. And good morning to
That's right.
everybody that's hanging out with us today
That's right, man. We
on this
appreciate everyone. We love you
memorial.
guys.
So so yeah, fear. It was fear that motivated everybody. Here we are 20 years later, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, just look at what's kind of gone on. The very people, that supported
Mhm.
Al Qaeda, ISIS, well, Al Qaeda, I guess, was at the time. It was so sick.
Mhm.
So I was talking about Mark Dice. He does this thing. I just saw it this week, and he's on the streets of California.
Mhm.
And here's a
I think
20
Venice Beach, right? Something like
Venice
that.
Beach, somewhere around there, 20 years later, and he's asking just normal everyday people, kind of just going about their business. And he asks them questions like, "What is the name of the organization that took down the Twin Towers?" Or what's the name of the guy who
Yeah.
took down the Twin Towers? And nobody,
Mhm.
nobody knew who it was. I mean,
Yeah.
they were saying things like Saddam Hussein. He asked,
Mhm.
he asked what country was it that supported the terrorists? And people were like, Syria,
Yeah.
Egypt,
Mhm.
Iraq. And it was it was so sad to
Yeah.
watch that
Yep.
so many people, here we are 20 years later, have absolutely no
No
idea,
knowledge. Yeah.
no knowledge of
Mhm.
what has gone on, what has transpired. And so here we are,
Mhm.
and I they're not, I'm sure that they're not going to show it on the regular media. We'll talk about some of the stuff that they're not showing that's going on right now. But
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. Did you see the picture of the Taliban? So now the people, Taliban,
Mhm.
who supported Osama bin Laden, because remember, it's Osama bin Laden, not Saddam
Mhm.
Hussein,
Yep.
that supported him and his whole network. That those people that we went to war against to get rid of, to move out, are now in charge of the whole country. And
Yeah.
of
And I
course,
think that's why this 20-year anniversary is so, bringing back, the original memory, because
yeah,
we just saw on the news, and like you said, you're not going to see it on mainstream, but there's so many outlets that are showing it, that the five detainees that we had, that a certain president, before President Trump, let go
go ahead,
for a
say it,
traitor.
Obama.
Obama, yeah, Obama traded. We had a traitor, and he gave five of these leaders and traded it for an American traitor. And now these four gentlemen out of the five are in charge
Yeah,
of Al Qaeda right now. They're
yeah.
running the nation. They're running
They're,
Afghanistan.
they're running the nation. They're running the nation. And it's so underhanded. It's so dark. We know that here 20 years later, we have Americans that are stuck in that country. We know that
Mm-hmm.
there are, if not hundreds, some say even up to 1,000 Americans that are still stuck in that country, that
Yeah,
were not evacuated,
yeah,
regardless of
and,
what our
even
government says.
allies. That because I was watching
Allies,
a thing where America had we needed to support also with translators and all that. So other countries lended their these people, and we just hightailed it out and left them behind, man.
and now we've created one of the most powerful militaries in the area, with the biggest air force,
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
of even of allies. It's
yeah,
just it's a full circle,
yep,
almost, it's a
yep.
full circle slap in the face. It
Yeah,
it
and I
really
know
is.
I've seen analysts telling me, not me, but saying, well, don't forget those helicopters and planes. We removed, critical material, chips, and this and that. But the thing is, they still left behind 365,000, you know, um, assault rifles. But
Yeah,
just that, can you imagine that? Almost a 500,000 rifles that you've given these men arms. Doesn't matter if they, and they still can, operate a Hummer. They don't need to have a certain chip to operate these armored
yeah.
vehicles and to do what they need to do.
And
It's
and
sad. It was $9.6 billion. I heard
I'm
last.
sorry, man, but these people, the Taliban is wicked.
Mm-hmm.
They are some wicked, evil people. What they're doing to their own populace, what they're doing to the women, what they're doing to people who support it. I mean, here we are. Here we're living our life here in America. We've gotten our soldiers out, and for some
Yeah.
reason, they're trying to tout the fact that we got what we got out as the saving grace of the whole thing. But every day there are people being murdered as a direct response to what we did or
Mm-hmm.
didn't do correctly. And of course, that's like other things. We're going to check out our phones. We're going to do our social media stuff. We're going to do our TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just not even going to we're not even going to think about that. But here we are today. It's hard not to think about it at the 20th anniversary of
Mm-hmm.
of our modern Pearl Harbor, because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really what it was. And I don't know,
And
did you see the picture of the Taliban dressed? Of course, you don't see it on any of the media, including Fox. You don't see it
mm-hmm.
on any. It's a lot you don't see on the mainstream media
Yeah, I've
that they
been seeing a lot
refuse
on
to show.
the Australian Sky News,
Sky News,
Newsmax.
great news.
Yeah.
Sky News, AON,
Mm-hmm.
Newsmax. Yeah, you'll see it there. Or you've got to go to other news sources
Yeah.
outside of
Duck, Duck,
them.
Go, different search engines. Yeah.
DuckDuckGo. You can also get what's the name of that? There's a couple of different apps that you can get that you'll get some of the news, literally videos coming right out
Mm-hmm.
of those nations, unedited.
Yeah.
This is what's
Yeah.
kind of going on. But yeah, so you're not going to see the news media cover this.
Mm-hmm.
But but I saw the pictures. Remember the whole Mount Hirabachi, the Marines in
Mm-hmm.
World War II that are setting up that flag,
Yeah.
setting up
Yeah.
the American flag. It's a statue in Washington D.C. Famous,
Mm-hmm.
one of the most famous pictures that came out of
Yeah.
World War II. And here you had the Taliban mimic it, wearing U.S. uniforms and holding
Mm.
up the Taliban flag. I mean, what? And who knows what they're going to do today? Because as
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I know.
understand it,
That's
as I understand
they
it,
love anniversaries. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if this. And what's crazy is people don't realize 9/11 was actually the anniversary of the defeat of Islam that
Mm-hmm.
tried to invade Europe.
Mm-hmm.
That was a major battle to invade Europe that the Muslims lost, and so 9/11. Again, they're big on anniversaries. 9/11 was a very important date to
Mm-hmm.
Al Qaeda and to ISIS and so forth and so
Yep.
on. So
I forgot, not to cut you off, I forgot the gentleman's name. And I hate that because he warned everyone that what goes on in Afghanistan doesn't stay there, especially with with Taliban, Al Qaeda, and he got murdered, and the next day was 9/11. His son was recently a part of the resistant fighters, and now he's actually fled the country. So now this is what I've been watching because now they know, is it something that he knows? Because like we said before, unfortunately, these people love anniversaries.
yeah,
So is it something that can repeat itself in the first time? I'm praying not,
yeah,
because
yeah.
these are wicked people and their intentions are not good. They are not good.
Now,
So
I can't verify this for sure, but I've heard it in a couple of different places that parts of the the rubble from 9/11, the twisted metal and stuff,
mhm.
that was put into our embassy in Afghanistan.
Mm.
But that it was
Yeah,
incorporated
for
into the
remembrance.
foundation as a remembrance, saying, yeah, look, we came, we did what we had to do. So and now, of course, it's not our embassy anymore. And who knows what they're going to do with that? What I'm sure something will pop up. But again, you're not going to see it on the
Mhm.
mainstream media. You're not going to see
Nope.
it, in the news.
Nope.
But other sources I'm sure will cover the pictures. So
Mhm.
uh, so here we
Hey,
are. Go ahead.
the one I want to tell you, brother, before I forgot, going back to the guns, I also heard a commentator. It might have been Dice, the guy we were talking about before, that goes on to the beach and speaks to people. He said, what's crazy is, we left, like I said, $9.6 billion in military equipment with around 365,000 rifles, but yet our government doesn't want to, de-arm them, take
Yeah.
away their weapons, but they want to take away ours.
Well, that
That's their agenda, right?
again, that's part of something bigger that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of going on in our culture, and I know it may seem a little political today, some sort of the conversation, but it's the
Mm.
anniversary of 9/11. It's hard
Yeah.
not to talk about that because we want to bring it back to a biblical
Yeah, and let's remember when
perspective.
Daniel was in Bab, he was a person in authority. Sometimes, you know, it's okay to speak about what's going on in
Yeah,
your land.
yeah. No, how can we not? How can we
Yeah,
not? But
we
I
can't be
think
blind.
one thing that I have noticed in myself, and I hope other people are starting to notice it in themselves too, is the more you understand who Yah truly is, the more what the way we understand now as opposed to, let's say, the way we understood 20 years ago,
Hmm.
more so now. Though I am a patriot, I love our country, would do what I could do to defend it if ever called upon to do so.
Hmm.
But more and more I am realizing in a very real and consequential way,
Hmm.
this is not what Yah has for us.
No,
This is
no.
not our citizenship. You know,
You know what Paul speaks about now, right? This is not our home.
yeah, you get it. You get it. And I know we said that, 20 years ago. I know we said that when we were doing sort of the church thing,
Hmm.
but I understand it so differently now.
And I think that goes right back to the fact that, do we love the ways of the world like we did back then? The things
Yeah.
of the world don't have the same appeal now, right? When you're following Yah, right, you learn that you don't serve Mammon and Yah, right? So we of course we want to support our family. We need to pay our bills and live, but I think our ideas of what we want and need now align with Yah's will more than ever before.
And
Back then it was, oh yeah, 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 it's about the kingdom. But then as soon as
yeah, but it
you
wasn't.
went home, yeah, it wasn't
It
exactly.
wasn't. And yet that's a very uh, there's a balance that has to be struck with
Hmm.
knowing what we know and realizing we're not part, or we shouldn't be part of, we don't belong to this, right? We are
Hmm.
serving in a different kingdom. We are citizens of a different kingdom, and doing that and knowing that, and then at the same time, like you said, Daniel lived in Babylon.
Hmm.
He didn't just live in Babylon. He was one of the senior politicians, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Of
Joseph,
Babylon.
right? I mean, come on.
Joseph. Yeah. So there's this balance that has to be struck between realizing this is not what Yah has given to us. This is not
Hmm.
where we belong. We need to a real degree, be detached from it, understand what Yah is asking for us, live in the kingdom, and yet
Hmm.
at the same time, be able to, as much as is possible, live peaceably with in the world that we live. We got to function,
Hmm.
right?
Yes. Yep.
We got to
Yep.
go to work. We got to bring money home. We got to put food on the table, etc., etc., etc. And
Hmm.
so it's a bit of a balancing act, and I think that it only comes with maturity in the Lord. The more you mature in Him, that you got to strike that balance of, where are we? Do we belong here? What does it say of Abraham? He looked for a maker who's for a city whose maker is Yah, whose builder and
Hmm.
maker is Yah. Even though he was given that land and walked in that land, the promises were given to him in that land. He was told the people
Yeah.
would come back to that land. Yet, in Hebrews, when it speaks of him, that it wasn't that he was looking for something even bigger,
Yeah.
right, than that land.
Hmm.
And Yeshua says, so many things, so very, very similar, not similar, exact to that, when he tells us, don't don't fear the one who can kill the body. He's
Yeah.
talking about
The one
human,
who
and,
can
and
kill the system. Yeah.
and he doesn't mean that spiritually, right? He doesn't
Mm.
he's that's not an allegory.
Yeah.
That's right.
Literal. Yeah.
That's not a parable.
Hmm.
He is literally saying that the people around you, the world around you, which we're talking about the world of Judaism at the time, but even beyond that, kings and queens and
Hmm.
all this, they are going to kill you. They're going
Hmm.
to take your life for the kingdom,
Hmm.
and yet, don't fear them. And here it goes right back to the issue of fear, because
Yeah.
that's what motivated all of America, and probably motivates
Hmm.
any other country that goes through whatever they go through, But Yah says, fear him. Fear the
That's right.
one
Amen.
who can kill body and soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who you will
That's
have
right.
the final end. Fear him. And the truth of the matter is, we don't.
That's right.
We
No,
just
we
don't.
don't. We
We
and,
we
and we
we
see
don't.
that not just churchianity, all over. No one fears
Yeah,
Yah.
yeah.
You
No,
know,
I'm talking about you know
man in
religion
general.
today,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about our nation, Europe, all the Western world, China, all of it. There is no
Mm-hmm.
fear of Yah. As a matter of fact,
Mm-mm.
even more so, I think, especially today within our culture, even within the religious world, there's there is a it's not. I don't even know if there's an acknowledgement, honestly,
No.
of
No.
him. It's an acknowledgement of something that's not even him. But the
Mm-hmm.
fear, the fear of who he is, has gone. And of course, we know, how many times in Proverbs and other places, King Solomon and others tell us the beginning of wisdom, the where
Yeah.
you actually begin to truly
Amen.
understand is
When you
when
fear
you
him.
finally realize how big he is, how
Mm.
how immense, how holy, and how
That's right.
dirty and small and insignificant you are in in
Mm-hmm.
all of this. And when you get that revelation, you can't help but to fall down on your face and cry
Mm-hmm.
your eyes out, and you realize, oh my goodness, what a fool I have
Amen.
been.
That's right.
We don't have that.
And I got to mention this. I'm sorry, brother, but
Go
this
for it.
is a situation that was heavy on my heart. I texted you the other day because when you have no fear of Yah, right? You don't follow his instructions, and I'm just gonna put it out there, not the person's name, but my wife and I saw former friends of ours that we went to church with back in the day that now dress their 6-year-old son as a girl.
uh yeah, I know
I
when you
mean,
said
putting dresses on him and literally coloring his hair and it just literally, I mean, I was almost crying. And these are people, who on the social media will put scripture and all these things, but there's no fear because, Deuteronomy 22:5, literally, it's an abomination. It says to dress like a man if you're a woman and vice versa.
yeah,
Not even going into the homosexuality part, which is all, but just even dressing
just a cross
to
dressing.
pretend that, yeah,
Yeah.
just to cross dress is an abomination. Um, what leads to these things? There's no fear because, of course, in their heart, they're doing what they think is right. Oh, God's the God of love, and da da da. They worship a baby Jesus who, is just, that whole. I think of that whole '70s movement, flower power. Just this hyper grace, whatever. Just do what you want, and without the fear of Yah, bro, it just I had to put that out there because it was just so heavy, on our heart. And when you just brought that up with fear, that's the key, man. Because Ecclesiastes again always says what? That the whole duty of the matter is to fear Yah and obey his commands.
Yeah.
And those two go side that you need them together,
And
right?
that's
And
not an what you're talking about is not an isolated incident in the
yep,
religious world today. That
nope.
that is a large portion of the
Mm-hmm.
whole social justice warrior kind of BLM
Mm-hmm.
thing that has Marxism, that and it's not just Marxism, it's anti fear of who Yah is, that has
Mm-hmm.
entered into what we call the religious world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
it's
just
everywhere. It's
while
prevalent.
you brought that up, I just wanted to say again, man, where are they right now, Antifa and the other group, right?
Uh,
Because we know that they're a back pocket tool for the Democratic Party, right? So right now they don't
yeah.
need them to go burn down cities because they're
Well,
getting what they want, right?
I mean that leads us into a different conversation. Hopefully
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
get there
yeah,
today, but if not, maybe another time. But yeah, that leads us into a whole sort of different conversation as to where we are now, what's going on
yeah,
now. And but you're
yeah.
right,
No,
you're
I
right.
agree.
We don't see that until you start to see, because of what's going on now, until you start to see other people start to protest some of the decisions that have been made by the
Hmm.
federal government, which is happening. happening not just
Yeah.
here, it's happening all over the world. But again, hopefully
Yeah.
we'll
I
touch
digress. I
that
didn't mean
later. Yeah.
to
No,
start
no,
going down
you're right.
another rabbit hole.
No, you're right. But it does. It comes down to fear. So you've got all of this kind of going on, and some stuff happens. Of course, people flock to churches, but
Hmm.
there's not really any true fear, and yet we will hear things over and over and over. One nation under God. God, God bless the United States, and
Hmm.
we want to incorporate Him into into our own sin, and
Yeah.
ask His blessing when we are not in any way obedient to Him.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I know that's a common view, but that is not a biblical view.
Hmm.
You cannot be disobedient to Him as a nation or any
Hmm.
nation and
Yep.
expect His blessing to be on us. Which
Yeah.
leads us then to another question. And I know this really kind of, because the more you understand, the more you begin to question everything. The more you begin. I was having a conversation with two of a couple last week. I think it was last week or the week before. That the more you understand what's actually going on, the more you realize, man, this is kind of crazy. This
Hmm.
where you have to reevaluate even all of history of what
Yeah.
we have assumed was good and right. So
Hmm.
if a nation cannot be blessed, God will not speak well of that nation that is in disobedience to Him.
Hmm.
Then who is giving all of what we call the blessings?
That's right.
I mean,
The false
now we're
light.
talking end time stuff, right?
Hmm.
Now we're in that category. Well, then
Yeah.
who is blessing us financially? Who
That's right.
is blessing us materially? Who is
Yeah.
blessing us militarily? Right?
Yeah.
Who,
Hmm.
who? If not Yah, because Yah makes it clear, blessed is that
Yep.
nation. In fact, I want to look at Psalms 33 in a second, but blessed is that nation whose God is Yehovah, right? And of course,
That's
it's
right.
talking about the nation of Israel in Psalm 33, but it's also gone beyond that. It's talking about any nation that makes
Hmm.
Yah its it's God. Blessed
Yeah.
is that
Don't
nation.
be deceived, right? Like you said, when you hear these people say, God, 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 who is their Elohim?
Yeah.
Who is their lowercase g?
Now,
Because
20
it's
year,
not
20 years,
Jehovah.
20 years ago, I'd have never even thought down that line.
Yeah.
20 years ago,
Yeah.
I'd have just said, yeah, in God we
Oh
trust.
yeah, right. Oh,
Yeah.
he said God. He's a Christian,
Yeah.
right? Remember
We're
watching the music awards, MTV. You
right.
know, oh, I just want to thank God. And oh,
Yep.
look, see, I knew it. I heard that one lyric in their song. I knew
Yep.
it.
Yep. Or, the football player, the who
Yeah,
gets,
yeah.
most valuable player after the Super Bowl. Yeah, I
Hmm.
want to thank Jesus, and I'm going to go to Disney, right? And everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, he's a believer, and
Yeah.
we all flock to it because,
Yeah, that's some other people's gods too, Disney. So just
well, yeah, that's another conversation
yeah,
for
yeah.
another day. But all of a sudden, you really have to start to rethink everything. And I know it gets almost overwhelming to start to go down this road in your thinking. But again, it leads you to that understanding that this is not where I belong.
Hmm.
This is not the place that this what I've come to understand is that the blessing that Yah has given to everybody. Yah loved the world. He's given us life, all of us.
Hmm. Yeah.
We all have a very short window, a very short window. I mean, when you think about it, 20
Hmm.
years has just gone by like that. We have a very, very short window
Hmm.
to hear His voice,
That's right.
and then to respond, and that
Respond
even that
exactly.
takes time and understanding. But you've got a lifetime, and I know, if you're 18, if you're a teenager, if you're in your 20s, you say a lifetime, and that seems like forever.
Yeah, yeah, it's
When
true.
you're
The younger
when
you are, the longer.
when we are your age, and you start to think, right,
Yeah, my age. Yeah. Hey,
when we
I'm
when
not. I'm
we
gonna be 48 in February, man.
when we're your age, you realize that, oh my goodness, a lifetime is now behind me.
Yeah, there's more years that passed. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's you think I've got, so we have a very short window, a lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
to hear
Yep.
his voice and to begin to come out of all of this
Mm-hmm.
and understand, who he is. So this isn't, as wonderful as this is, and this is the blessing that Yah gives to all of us. This is a wonderful life, no doubt. This is a
Mm-hmm.
this is a wonderful opportunity. We get to live, we get to love, we get to marry, we get to raise children.
Yep.
We get to, all of the things that Yah has given to us. But now I've come to understand it, that this is a trial.
Yeah.
This
Yep.
is this is a very brief rehearsal. The
Litmus test.
Moedim, right? It's a litmus test. It's a Moedim.
Yeah.
Rehearse, because
That's right.
something. If you think the wonders of this life are and they are, they can be very, very wonderful. There's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
we've got that no other generation could even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But that cannot be compared to what is coming. So
That's
you've got a small window to try to figure this out. And the only way you figure it
Mm-hmm.
out is by hearing his voice, is by
right.
doing what he has actually said. And it causes you to reevaluate
Mm-hmm.
everything that we've got. And this is why the disciples, this is why the apostles thought it nothing to give up their life.
Yeah, that's right.
Saul, it
Mm-hmm.
says, it's not,
Yeah, at that point, he
this
was
life
like,
is
"I'm
not
ready, man."
worthy. Yeah, no, he got
Yeah.
it. He realized this life is not worthy to be compared to the glory that is coming. And I know we say
Mm-hmm.
that, but there's a difference between saying that and getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it now, and I hope everybody's starting to get it now.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're in a position where we're having to give up our lives, but nobody's promised tomorrow.
That's right.
We know tragedy can come upon us in
Yeah.
a
Matthew.
second.
Yeah, Matthew 5:45, right? And he says that the sun shines on the good, the evil, and it rains on the just and the unjust,
The
right?
just and the
Paraphrasing.
unjust.
Yeah.
And you've got to wrap your mind around, you've got to understand that this is not, as wonderful as this is, as awesome as it is to have friends and all the rest of that, and live in this wonderful technological age, which is a two-edged sword, but still it can be
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. Listen, we're talking about Yah on technology, right? We're using the mammon of the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're to speak of the things of God. As wonderful
Yep.
as that is, I mean, I can't even begin to wrap my mind around what Yah has for us.
Mm.
Right?
That's right.
How wonderful, how out of this world what is coming. But while we're in this world, and let's at least look at a excuse me, a verse. Let me see if I can pull this up.
What are
Let's
you
take.
pulling up, bro? If
I'm
not, I
gonna.
can read
I
it
want
there
to
for you.
start at Psalms, right? I want to start at Psalms chapter 33, because it really does kind of encompass kind of where we are and what's going on around us. And of course, it's been going on for a long, long time. But here's chapter 33, and we're going to look at verse 8 and read some of this. But
Want me to start it?
let me just get it up there. So, okay, it is up there so everybody can see it.
You have it on the scriptures on there?
Yeah, I'm on the scriptures, but it doesn't matter. You can read in the King
Okay,
James. You can read it
I'm reading it off
in
my
whatever you
phone.
got.
This is the New King James. I'm reading it from on my iPhone.
Yeah,
It says,
we're going to go
verse
all the way
8.
to we're going to go all the way to verse 22, but I might like stop you and
Okay,
interject as we go
no
through.
problem. Awesome. Okay,
But
it
go
says,
ahead.
"Let all the earth fear Jehovah. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him.
Whoa,
For
whoa,
he
hold
spoke."
on, wait. Let all the
Yeah,
world
okay.
what?
Yep. Amen.
Fear him. Right? There it
That's
is.
awesome.
There it is. Without that,
Yep.
go for it, brother.
Amen. 9. For he spoke, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast. Jehovah brings the counsel of the nations to nothing. He makes the plans of the people of no effect. The counsel of Jehovah stands forever. The
Well,
plans of his heart to all generations.
so
Blessed,
take
yeah,
that
of
for a second.
his,
Take that for a second, right?
yep,
So
yep,
he's
not
telling us
ours.
whatever the plan. Listen, what are the plans of the nations today? Have you ever
Yeah.
seen? I don't know if you've ever seen this guy. We'll go back to this to scripture in a second.
Hmm.
Oh man, I'd say years ago there was a guy that I'd watch on TV. I thought at the time he had some awesome videos, some great end time stuff. I think his name
Hmm.
is Nelson. I forgot what his, and you guys can look it up. I'm sure.
Not Willie.
No, not Willie. He's got a different problem. But the guy's name is Nelson, and he's got like these 15, maybe 20-minute videos that come out. And I
Mhm.
listen to, I haven't listened to him in a long time. And I'm sitting in the dentist. Of course, I had the whole, aside from a flood in the church,
Yeah.
aside from a
Not a good
flood
week, huh?
in my house, right? Aside from cleaning up all week long, huffing fumes from an oil spill, I get a root canal. I get a toothache.
Mm.
So yeah, it rains on the just and on the unjust, right?
Yeah.
But so I'm sitting in the dentist office and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I got time to kill. Let's check out, what's online. And I saw him, and I guess he just came up in my
Recommended
in my
feed.
recommended feeds. 'Cause it has been a while since I seen him, so I figured
Hmm.
let me watch one of his videos. And I'm watching the video, and it's about the coronavirus. I got guys, the fact that we've got to be careful what we say in all
Hmm.
is another issue altogether. But so
Yeah.
he's talking about that. He's what he's saying is that what's happening with all of this COVID pass stuff, what's happening here in New York City,
Hmm.
and that's the direction we're headed in nationally with all the stuff that that just came out this week. In fact, I think
Hmm.
this week on the 13th begins that whole thing here in New York City. So I can't go to the gyms. I can't go to the
Yeah.
gyms
Yeah.
here. I can't go to the restaurants. I mean, unless I eat outside. But thankfully, at least for right now, I can go to
Hmm.
Mount Vernon. We can go
On the
outside of New York
outskirts of the
City, on
city.
the
Yeah.
outskirts. But I mean, how long is that going to work? And now you've got people whose doctors won't even see
Oh
them.
yeah.
So
I saw real fast a 5 month old, a 5 month pregnant woman, 5 months along, and she was having heart palpitations. Set up an appointment for a cardiologist. Went and they refused to see her because she didn't have the jab.
wow,
Come on.
wow.
It's not about, not
So
how you feel. Are you sick? No, no, just because you didn't have the jab. Don't worry about your heart. I don't care.
but we shouldn't be surprised because this is
Yeah,
again
yeah,
not our world. This is not our world. But
that's right.
all of that aside, so this video he's saying, or he's putting forward, it's there's the COVID pass that's going to come, and he's right. He's right. He showed absolute fact that this is something that out of Davos they want to make as a global pass, not just in,
Hmm.
even though
I
certain,
saw that.
maybe some states are doing it, maybe some countries might be doing it. Israel has done it. They're talking about this becoming a global thing, which is going way beyond the idea that this is a medical thing. He's putting forward, this has become much more than just a medical thing, because what this is a prelude to, at least this is what he was saying, this is a prelude to a social pass, similar to what
Hmm.
they have in China, that you have a social credit score. That
Hmm.
that this is the path that, now listen, if it's just about them tracking us, man, we're already tracked,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
It's not
Especially
like,
if you walk around with one of these in your
yeah,
hand.
yeah. Listen. Has it ever happened to you where you said something, just in
Yep,
conversation, right? You're just
yeah,
talking to your wife or whatever, and you say, "Man,
yeah.
I'd like to take maybe a cruise." Now, of course, today
Then
I
all of a
can't,
sudden,
I
every
can't,
ad, yeah.
right? I can't because of all this stuff. But let's say I want, and all of a sudden on your phone comes
Hmm.
up, all the cruise line stuff, or you said, so I want to buy something, and it comes up on Amazon, and so
Yep,
there's no
yeah.
doubt that we're
I mean,
being
want to hear
tracked.
something really freaky? All right, what are the chances of this? We just put a mini split system in our house for our heating and cooling, and when we were looking into it, we just mentioned that, and all of a sudden on YouTube, it was nonstop commercials for that. I'm like, you never see those commercials on for
Yeah.
a mini split. Now all of a sudden, I mentioned it, and boom, it
Yeah.
was crazy.
And I think probably all of us have experienced that. That's why I will not get what's that thing called little box
Alexa,
you get, Alexa or the other ones. I mean, it's bad enough we already have it on our phones, right? It's
yep,
bad
yep,
enough that it's on our phones, it's on our TVs, it's on our smart TVs, it's on your iPad. So I mean, we've been being tracked.
mm-hmm,
The difference is now we're talking about who's been tracking us is our businesses.
mm-hmm,
It's commercial tracking.
yep. They sell
It's
you
to
out,
sell
man.
products, and no doubt, yeah, you can go look at all the history. CIA's behind it, government's behind it. They're pushing
Mm-hmm.
it, they're paying it because we're all giving up our personal information, like
Oh yeah.
what they couldn't get 20 years ago. We just
Mm-hmm.
gave we just gave to them, which
Yep.
again, it's the way
Think
the
about what
world
we
is.
gave to iPhone, man. As soon as you put your thumbprint on there, they
Sure,
got you,
they got
right?
you. But now what's being proposed is a global pass, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't be naive. This is coming.
Yeah.
This is coming, and I get why there's people that say there's going to be a one world government, and that's what this guy was putting forward, a one world government, and while the COVID thing and the shot is not the mark of the beast, that this is a setup for the mark of the beast, and I'm listening to this, and he says, and what's going to happen is because of all of this, you're going to be tracked, and then if you don't worship this this guy, whoever this leader, this antichrist, who is coming,
I'm
that
sorry, I was thinking Professor F. I'm just gonna say that.
what?
Fauci.
Oh, I saw an awesome shirt on. I don't know if it was Dice. Fauci lied.
Oh
People
yeah,
died.
yeah. Or lock him up or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, lock up Fauci.
that's another sad. But
Yeah.
listen, it's the world in which we live. The
Mhm.
the guy who is now we realize is responsible for the experimentation that caused
Mhm.
this is the guy we
Yep.
have in control and lead. I mean, just it's crazy. But anyway, so this
Mhm.
guy, so he puts forward, this is going to lead to, it's not it, but this is going to lead to the mark of the beast, and we're already seeing you're not going to be able to buy and sell. And who's the people that are most affected by this? Well, it's a lot of people who call themselves Christian in our nation, but it's not just Republican, it's Democrat, it's independent, but it's people who call themselves Christians that are kind of being targeted by all this, or at least it seems that way. So he's saying all of this, and I'm listening to it, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, he has absolutely no
Mm.
idea.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong in that these things are happening,
Mhm.
but he's got 30,000 followers
Followers. Yeah.
that are hearing this is the prelude to the and I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm not saying we're not in a bad situation. Obviously, there is a reset, financial reset that's coming. There's all sorts of craziness. That there's the major power grab in our own politics. All of that is true,
Mhm. Mhm.
but
What's
we're
his?
connecting it to this idea that there's this guy coming, and I'm watching it, and they're connecting it to the COVID thing, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my! Now knowing what we know, now
Mhm.
understanding what we know, you listen to some of that stuff and you say, how in the world did we even begin to believe stuff like that?
I know.
I can almost understand why people who don't want anything to do with that sometimes look at us and say, you people are nuts.
Mhm.
You people,
Yeah.
this is this is conspiracy stuff,
Mhm.
and it's not in that this is stuff that's really going on, but it doesn't mean, or it isn't. And I think, it's amazing because you can look at a lot of that stuff and say, yeah, it kind of sounds like everything, we've been talking about as far as quote unquote end times, at
Mhm.
least certain pieces. And I almost think that, I don't think this is sort of my position right now, that the God of this world is pushing
Using
that
it. Yeah.
deception, and it's
It's like that. What is that
suckering
game
in a
you guys
lot of
play in the
people.
city? Not you, but they played all over the three card. The what is
Three
that? The
card
Monty with the
Monty.
yeah,
What do
yeah.
you mean?
Look over
What do you
here,
mean, you
but don't pay
guys?
attention to what's. Yeah.
What do you mean, you
Right.
guys?
Yeah, you guys over there in the Bronx.
Over there on 33rd. Going over the trugs, Nick. Yeah, well,
But you know, what I'm saying? Yeah, I
and
mean,
it's a great deception, and I'm looking at all these followers and all the comments people are giving that, oh wow, it's happening right in front of us. Jesus is got to be coming soon. In fact, and then they put forward the idea that the 7 year, that whole idea of a 7 year at the end of the time Daniel's 70th year goes on, that it
mm-hmm,
might have started on trumpets this year.
mm,
And I'm like, what?
yeah,
How? How did you come to that? And everybody's like, amen. And this is going on. And it's weird because there is craziness going on. I've never, in my lifetime, I've never seen what we are watching right now.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely,
And it's nuts and it's scary and it's going to
mm-hmm,
get worse. But
yeah,
that's not it.
yeah.
That really is a deception. Let's go
Well, I
back
tell
to
you, it's like I want you to send the video. I wish we can get contact. We talk about him all the time. He used to he does all the. Are you kidding me? Oh, it's that guy.
oh
Uh, he still does the
oh man,
videos,
what is his name? What is his
talking about
name?
these giant, 20-foot locusts that are going to come and right? Wouldn't
Well,
that
listen,
be scary, right?
it's
I
it's
tell you,
either
but
the giant 20-foot locust or it's the
mhm,
little they say there's another thing I heard that the locust is a microorganism. It's a
yeah,
bacteria like COVID.
yeah,
I'm like,
hmm
what?
I
What?
know, I know.
No, that's got
It
nothing to do
interprets
with it.
scripture with scripture.
Yeah, no, I can't. What's the guy's name that does that? He's are
Hegley
you
or
are you
Begley?
Begley, Paul Begley?
Yeah. Yeah, real
Are
fast, real fast. He did one a couple of weeks ago, and they found a pit in Russia, I think, and he played audio, and it was all he said screams of all the tormenting in hell, and I'm just like, and people were like, "Amen!" Like, whoa, got to get my right, my light right, my life right, and I
and
was just
and
like,
and
"Oh
the
my
guy's got
goodness."
how many tens and tens and tens and tens of
Mm-hmm.
thousands
Yep.
of followers listening to that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what what
I know.
what how could we have even thought that way? And yet
I
I get
know.
it.
I know.
I listen. We did.
Yep.
We
It's true.
did. We've
It's true.
matured. We've grown out of it. And honestly, the truth of what all of that stuff is about to me is more incredible. I mean, it's maybe not more fanciful than the stuff that gets put out. But what's so and what's really sad is so what does it look like before Messiah comes? Because all you hear today is, well, there's going to be wars and rumors of wars and pestilence. And we don't realize he's talking about what was going on before the fall of Jerusalem. That's
Mm-hmm.
what they were supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be looking for. The end he's speaking about in Matthew 24 is not the end of the world. He says,
Mm-hmm.
he that endures to the end. He's not talking about the end of the world. He's saying,
Yeah.
he that endures to the end of Jerusalem, the end
We'll be
of the
saved. Yeah.
temple. They will be delivered. That's what he's
Mm-hmm.
referring to. But we use it as sort of a blanket statement. There's going to be wars.
Yeah, for salvation. Yeah, for churchianity, for salvation. Yeah, yeah.
There's been wars and rumors of wars and all that stuff. My goodness, going on in every single
Uh,
generation.
yeah, yeah.
So what does it look like? And we don't even have time to really develop this because we're sort of out of time even for today. But to me, the only thing I truly see is actually what we're looking at here in let me jump back to it real quick. What we're looking at here in Psalms, it says verse 12. Let me just go up here a little bit. Blessed is the nation whose Elohim is Yehovah, the people whom he has chosen, and his own inheritance. So he's talking really about the house of Israel, but he's talking about
Mm-hmm.
all nations. He looked from his dwelling place on all the inhabitants of the earth. He fashions the heart of them all. He understands all their work. Let me scoot this up. The sovereign is not saved by the multitude of an army, and a mighty man is not delivered by great strength, which is exactly what the nations are doing. It's about our strength.
Mm-hmm.
It's about our power. A
Yep.
horse is a horse is a vain means of safety. Neither does it rescue any by its great power. See, the eye of Yehovah is on those fearing him, on those waiting for his loving commitment to deliver their being from death and to keep them alive during the sanctity of the flood. Psalms 2 says, why did the nations rage? 'Cause that's really what kind of the title for today is. Why did the nations rage? When you read Psalm 2, why do the nations rage? They rage because they do not want any, uh, not resistance, any guidance
Mhm.
of Yah's word in any form
Oh yeah.
to affect their lives. And what does it
Mhm.
look like to a nation? So blesses the nation whose Yehovah is their Lord. It looks like that nation is righteous. What does it look like to a nation whose God is not the Lord? It looks
60,000 abortions a day.
yeah,
Uh,
60 million
million, yeah,
since
60 million.
Roe. Where and I'm not in any way diminishing how many people have gotten sick and died from this respiratory virus that was unleashed on us. It's probably the worst. It is the worst respiratory virus we've seen, but 60 million, 60
Mhm.
million people we are killing, and we're not
That don't even
even
have a voice, right?
we don't even care. As a matter of fact, we think it's unrighteous, and bravo for Texas for at least coming up with the
Yeah,
idea that they've
yeah.
got now
I
of
do
six
applaud them for
six
that. The
weeks.
first heartbeat.
It's at least it's in the right direction. It is what it
Mhm.
is, but at least it's in the right direction. And what do? We fight against that. No, we don't want that.
Yeah.
And that's what it means in Psalm 2. It says, why do the nations rage? Why do they
Mhm.
imagine a vain thing? They say
That's right.
let's get the bands of Yah off of us. What does a nation look like in the end times? It looks like Romans 2, where Yah says he gives them over to
Mm.
fornication, for men doing what is unseemly, for women doing what is unseemly. He
Dressing the
takes his
6-year-old kids.
yeah, he takes his hands off. And that is the culture we are living in today. If you want
Mhm.
to know what the end times looks like, what the real prophecies of the end times looks like, watch the news. Watch
Yeah.
what's going on. We are living like Sodom and Gomorrah, and we are living like in the days of Noah. In the days of Noah, they
Mhm.
heard it. They don't care. We're going to do what we want to do. And in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, we don't care. We're going to make these things legal. This is what we want to do. And we
Yeah.
know how both of them worked out. That's
Yeah.
the only prophecies that I can honestly
Like
tell
even
people.
Babylon, right? Even Babel when they got together, right? They right same thing.
Say,
Scattered them.
say, yeah. But
Yep.
those are the only prophecies that I can honestly look at today and say, those are the things that depict our age. I don't think there's any other
Mhm.
prophecies that depict our age, because it all leads up to Jerusalem, and then after
Yeah.
Jerusalem, there's a gap until Messiah comes. But
Mm.
but here we are. We're living in it today, and we kind of gone over time. What psalm is that? That psalm, somebody just wrote that down there. Not Serene. It's Psalm 33. Psalm
That's
33.
right.
As a matter of fact, I encourage you guys read the whole of Psalm 33. It's an amazing, amazing psalm. Read it, and also Psalm 2,
And
which are
Deuteronomy
really
28 too.
the blessings and the curses, right?
Yeah,
So,
because in
are,
verse
are we
46 it
are we
says that
blessed or
that's a
cursed?
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, Psalm 2. Psalm 2 is if that's what they were. I'm not sure which one they were looking at. Psalm 33. Psalm 2 says, "Why do the nations rage and the people imagine a vain thing?" So you guys can check that out. But so that's our conversation for today. It is the memorial of 9/11, and certainly our hearts go out to all those families who are
mm,
still mourning
that's right.
and all the stuff that's going on. But we just want to remind everybody today, this is not our world. This is
Mhm.
not. I know we got to live in it. I know we got to function in it. It may be hard. We're all being pressed. Some of us are being pressed to do things we do not want to do,
Mhm.
and that's we're going to have to iron that out, and things are going to get tough, and we'll see how this comes down. But is there any one thing that we could look to and point to and say this happens and then Yeshua comes? No, I
Mm.
don't think so. I think, man, he's just going to come. He's going to
Yeah.
come, and it's going to freak everybody out, including us.
Mhm.
Including us.
Yeah.
It's going to freak
Yeah.
everybody out. So, bro, go
Yep.
ahead. Let me.
I think that's when we'll see some real fear, huh? But
A little too late, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, real fear. But nope, I just encourage everyone just be a doer of the word and pray for your family and especially your children, right? Teach them the right way. Start them while they're young, and let them develop faith in Yeshua and be obedient to His commands. Because after a certain age, right, they're out of our hands. But if you do your
Yep.
job, Yah is going to be faithful, I think, and preserve them. And
20
that's
years.
what I pray for my children. That if I do my part, it's out of my hands, and Yah is faithful. So
Yeah, because 20
but
years goes by like a snap of the
yeah,
fingers.
too
It,
fast, man.
it really, really does. Well, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for hanging out with
Hey,
me
man, I
this
love you too, buddy.
Sabbath. We got the feast days. We got we just obviously passed Yom Teruah. We've got
Hmm.
the Day of Atonement coming up. We're going to do a message
Yep.
this weekend on the Day of Atonement, and of course we're going to have our Zoom calls, and we're going to have different conversations each night. We're going to be broadcasting from my sukkah. Hopefully, you guys will be able to build a sukkah where you are, and we'll have a conversation. And it's so neat. I mentioned it. We've got a dear sister that found out about us and is watching LMC. Get this, from Hong Kong.
Wow, that's
Isn't that
awesome.
isn't that amazing?
That's awesome.
I find that absolutely amazing. So hopefully we'll get a
That's
chance
pretty cool.
to she wants to be on our Zoom call for Tabernacles. So Yah willing, we'll be able to speak with her and hear some things that are going on the other side of the world. Very, very different perspective, obviously.
Yeah, that would be pretty neat. Yeah,
From where we are. But
awesome.
so with that, brother, I love you, man. Have a
I love
great
you too,
day.
man.
Enjoy the rest of your
Shabbat shalom to
Sabbath.
everyone out there.
Shalom, bro.
Shalom, buddy.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning. I hope you liked that conversation. I know we went a couple of minutes over, but here it is. We're 20 years later from 9/11. I know a lot of people are memorializing this today. It's going to be all over the TV and the news and everything. And while we are part of what's going on, I also just want you to remember we are citizens of a different kingdom. We serve a different king. Keep that in the forefront of your thinking. Don't forget to join us tomorrow, 10:45, as we continue with our Moedim, what we've been talking about with the Moedim. We're going to talk about, as I said, the Day of Atonement. You're going to see how that fits historically, just like everything else, all the other feast days, historically and prophetically into what has happened and certainly into what is coming. So we look forward to that. Join us tomorrow. Have a great Sabbath day, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy your grandpa. Enjoy your grandchildren. Have a great day, guys. God bless. And as always, Shabbat Shalom.